Hey there, and welcome to Tuesdays with Joe, where you ask your most burning UX questions and I answer them. Let's get right to today's question. It comes from, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Zaid, who says, I just began in UX. I'm getting interested in the discipline, but I wanted to ask you something about it. Beyond the fact that almost everything is possible, is it necessary to have learned to code to become a UI or UX designer? Is it possible for someone who never produced a single line of code to become a UX or UI designer? I couldn't find any practical answers on the web, so I'm asking you. Well, Syed, first things first, you absolutely do not need to know how to code in order to be an excellent UX consultant or architect or UI designer or anything of the sort. Now, there's a caveat to that. You do absolutely have to have some sort of working knowledge of how code works, okay, how software is developed. The fact that there is a back end where processes happen, there's a middle tier where there's logic that tells a system what to do with that data, and then there's a front end, which is, some variation of HTML and CSS that you see on the screen. You have to sort of know how all that goes together and generally what's involved in building it. You do not need to know how to do it. Now, there are no shortage of articles and experts that insist the opposite, that you do have to know how to code. I don't believe it, and the reason I don't believe it is there's a couple of reasons. First and foremost, I've been doing this almost 30 years now. It's a long time to be doing anything. And what I've seen in that time is that I've met a total of 3 people, okay, count them, 3, who excelled in both areas, who were excellent designers, excellent analytical minds in terms of user experience, features, functions, product strategy, and were amazing coders, where they totally understood both programming and front-end development languages, came to them naturally. But that's rare, okay? It is very rare. So that's the first reason. I've just never seen it exist, where people do both things equally well. The second reason is that my personal belief, again, based on experience, not just because I know everything or I'm the smartest guy in the room, I'm not by any stretch. But again, what I've seen is that projects succeed when you have a cross-disciplinary team of people where everybody is doing the one thing that they are absolutely best at, okay? I can write basic code. I can code HTML and CSS, okay? But you don't want me doing that because I'm not nearly as good at it or as fast at it or as efficient at it, nor do I possess a full understanding like someone whose sole job it is to understand front-end code, okay? Their skills are 1,000,000 times sharper than mine are, so they should be doing the work, right? They know more, they've experienced more, and they're good at it. So to me, everybody should be doing what they are best at. Otherwise, what happens, and cognitive science backs this up, by the way, in terms of the right and left hemispheres of the brain, it is almost impossible to do a task that is, right brain versus left brained equally well. And it's particularly hard to focus on both of them at the same time. In other words, execute both at the same level of excellence. It's just difficult. One of the two things is going to suffer, okay? So I would rather see you and folks like you who are getting into UI or UX get in the habit of working with a developer on every project that you work on, hand in hand. If you're working for yourself as a freelancer, talk to developers, ask developers questions. If you're part of a team, you want to be at that person's hip or at the team's hip. What I routinely do at the very beginning stages when we're still talking about strategy, I want developers in the room, okay, at all 3 levels if possible. I want front-end developers, I want programmers, I want database architects, okay, in the room, so that when we're talking about what's possible or what's appropriate or what's feasible, I want to be able to turn to those people and say, what do you think? Can we do this? Does that make sense? Does that sound like it's the best solution to this problem? I want to leverage their knowledge. I don't want to guess, okay? Because guessing, in my experience, gets you into trouble, okay? So you don't want to guess, you want to know. Get in the habit of asking questions. Get in the habit of asking developers okay, is this a good idea or is it a bad idea? If they say it's a bad idea, ask them to explain why. Not because you're challenging them, not because you believe differently, but because you want to understand why this is a good thing or a bad thing. The more you do that, the more you'll learn along the way, and that working knowledge will be enough eventually to get you to the point where you sort of stop suggesting things that are out of the realm of possibility because you've been doing it for a while. Okay, so you do not have to know how to code, but definitely get yourself a solid working knowledge of how that work happens. Okay? I hope that's helpful. I wish you much success. Drop me a line and let me know how it's going. And remember to give good UX.